astrological forecast for November 2025 for representatives of the sign of Sagittarius. November 2025 will bring you unusual sensations. After all, this month for you it is a milestone, transitional. This is a time when you, figuratively speaking, step out of the shadows into the light. Since on the night of November 21-22, the transit of the sun crosses an important milestone and enters your sign. It enters the so-called path of life. Path of life. Precisely this is what the first degrees of your sign are called in astrology. The moment of the sun's transition from the sign of Scorpio into your sign, which happens, I will remind you, on the night of November 21-22 this year. This is an important and milestone moment for everyone, but especially, of course, for your zodiac sign. This is a moment when the energies of optimism, the desire for creation, creativity are activated. And the sun, transiting through your sign, will begin to charge you with new forces, giving you energy with a reserve for a year ahead. Therefore, November will give you a feeling of awakening and rebirth. The first half of November for you is a time that can be felt by you as a period on the eve of a grand move. This can be imagined as us standing before a large suitcase, which we need to fill with those things, events, emotions that we will take with us into a new life. But everything that we have accumulated, we cannot take into the new life. All this will not fit into our suitcase. Therefore, before this large suitcase, we reassess each thing, each emotion, each process in our life, each state or relationship. We reevaluate all this and decide whether we take this with us into our future or not. Therefore, the first half of November for you, or more precisely the time until November 21, is a time of such grand general cleaning along with inventory. Of course, this is figurative and exaggerated, but still this is a time when we say goodbye to something. We decide to leave something in the past. And it is good if these are our fears, apprehensions, anxieties, sorrows. It is good to leave in the past that which we do not need in our new life. This is a time of global cleansing, both on the physical plane and on the emotional and mental plane. At the same time, in this period you will see many mistakes made by you on your life path, many miscalculations. You will see which path could have been taken, and it would have been a much easier and shorter path to achieving your goal. That is, you will see much easier variants of that path which you have already traversed, not by the easiest route. That is, the period until November 22 for you is a time of summaries, results, and conclusions. And from November 22, your time begins. Let us discuss in detail the most important astrological events of the month and their influence on your sign step by step. On November 2, the planet Venus will be in a tense aspect, in a square in relation to the planet Jupiter. This can give a feeling of dissatisfaction with results, a feeling of unjustified expectations, especially in financial questions, when we expected to spend one sum. But as a result, this thing or this service turned out to be of a much higher cost than we assumed. On this day, there can be additional expenses, and connected even not with your personal needs, but with the needs of someone from your close people or your friends. On November 4, the planet Mars, the planet of strength, energy, and actions, transitions into your zodiac sign, where it will be located right up until December 16. And for you begins the most active and productive stage of the year. Since Mars is the driving force of our horoscope, transiting through our own sign, Mars makes us hyperactive and effective. This is a time when precisely you will be the initiator and driving force of different processes. Any questions? This can concern both the sphere of personal life and some friendly plans or questions connected with work. For you, this time from November 4 to December 16 is a period when you will be able to do very much. You will be able to manage a lot. If you hear this noise, then this cat is playing with its toy. It is impossible to stop this process, so sorry for the noise. For you, this period is a time of impatience and swiftness. The only minus of this stage is that you can be much faster, much more purposeful than the people who are around you. Therefore, it may seem to you that everyone around is deliberately slowing down some processes, slowing down the course of your decisions and actions. But this in reality is not so. Simply Mars is now located precisely in your sign. Therefore, strength, speed, energy, impulsiveness are now your qualities. And on this same day, November 4, the planet Mars will find itself in a tense aspect in relation to the planet Uranus, which will be affecting your 1st and 7th astro field. This is the most tense aspect of November. This is a time that can bring conflicts, disruptions in the schedule, quarrels, agreements, and joint plans can be violated. This is the first such aspect with which you are encountering, since Uranus only now has affected your 7th house of the horoscope, the sector of partnership relations. Therefore, now this period of the first conflict between Mars and Uranus can be felt by you as some unexpected event. But in reality, this aspect, it begins to shake up those relationships in which problems have matured. These can be relationships of a personal nature, friendly or business, since Uranus in this sector of your horoscope. It will be throughout 7 years giving you new stages, new plots in relationships, new ways of organizing your interaction with other people. And this first aspect of Mars and Uranus, it will shake up the situation in those relationships where there is a necessity for changes. This energy of conflict, it can be felt as in reality, as a quarrel, clarification of relationships, but also this can be felt on an internal level, as an internal conflict, as an internal rebellion against some rules or concepts in established relationships. On this day, there can be changes in the plans of your partners, work partners, your clients, employer, colleagues. Also, this can play out through the sector of friendly relationships or the sphere of personal life. Therefore, for this day, it is better not to plan any important joint decisions or negotiations. On November 5, a full moon occurs in the sign of Taurus in your 6th house of the horoscope. The full moon is completion, culmination, clarity, it is results. And the 6th house is the house of our basic needs. This is also the house of competition and the house of conditions in which we live and work. The full moon completes some situation, therefore here you can win some dispute. You can achieve victory in some question of interest to you, which may be connected with an intra-family dispute or with some rivalry at work. Also, this is a time when you can complete work on some task on which you have been working regularly. For example, complete work on some project in your professional activity, or here a certain stage of your cooperation with a client or employer can be completed. Also, this is a time that can give the completion of a course of treatment, if this theme is relevant for you. Here also there can be some changes that are not unexpected. Changes as results. Changes in how your life is organized on such an everyday, domestic basis. That is, someone may complete repairs in their dwelling, someone may move, someone may in this period acquire new furniture or some goods for the home. That is, the energy of this full moon, it completes processes of transformation that are connected with the conditions in which you live or work. On November 6, the planet Venus transitions into your 12th house of the horoscope, where it will be located right up until November 30. Venus symbolizes earthly pleasures, pleasures connected with some things, objects with matter, also with relationships. And the 12th house is the house of completion of the cycle, the house of results. And looking ahead, I will say that in this sector of your horoscope, in the 12th astro field, throughout November, many more events will occur. Therefore, one needs to pay attention to this sector, what this transit of Venus is about. The 12th house is the house of summaries, results, the house of completion of the cycle. And when we are at the end of some process that we have been engaged in for a long time, then, being at this concluding point, we see the entire path that we have passed. We see all the mistakes that we have made, and see what options we actually had to pass this path much faster and easier. That is, we see the entire road as a whole. That is, this is a time of summing up results, when you receive results, but together with them you also receive important life experience. Since now, being at the end of this path, the path of some process, you already know precisely how exactly it needs to be done correctly the next time. Also, Venus in the 12th house can bring the completion of some financial process, when you receive the desired results, or a debt is returned to you, or you receive a reward for some actions performed by you in the past. Also, Venus symbolizes relationships. The 12th house is the house of secrets. Therefore, this is a time when you can talk with someone heart to heart, or if the theme of secret relationships, relationships of the type of a love triangle, is relevant for you, then this is a time that will bring new plots into such kind of relationships. Also, This is a time when you will understand what precisely you like, what gives you pleasure. This is a time when you can reevaluate your tastes and reevaluate how you live, how your life is organized on an everyday basis, and how many pleasures you allow yourself. On November 8, the planet Uranus returns briefly until April 26, 2026, into your 6th house of the horoscope. Uranus is a slow planet, and in this sector it was located since 2018. Then it briefly left this sector and now returns here already with a concluding visit, briefly from the point of view of Uranus. Uranus in the 6th house, it changes the conditions of our life. The image of our life changes the conditions in which we live and work. And probably, since 2018, each of you in one form or another, have encountered significant changes in how your life is organized. And now Uranus briefly returns into this sector in order to once again give you new experience. This can play out through changes in your place of residence, in the conditions in which you live, in the renewal of the space in which you are located. And for some, this can play out through the sector of work. That is, Uranus will again bring you new experience. It as if shows that one should not think that something happens once and for all. In everything, updates are needed. In the period from November 9 to November 29, the planet Mercury will be in retrograde motion. Mercury is our thoughts, words, it is our logic, memory, it is questions connected with calculations and documents. And Mercury in its retrograde motion will be affecting your 1st and 12th astro field. This is to some extent a philosophical aspect, an aspect of reflections on the theme. Why? For what? What are the meanings? But at the same time, this aspect will bring many events also on the level of some practical tasks. This is a time when you can more often than usual change your decision about something. You can ponder who precisely or what, which processes exert an influence on the decisions that you make. You will ponder who or what influences that which figuratively can be called self-presentation, your self-presentation. Also, you will ponder for what or for whom you are trying in life, and also ponder what you are in reality, or what you are in reality, what you want in this life, which processes in your destiny you produce because you need it, because you feel a need for it, a calling, a purpose, inspiration, and which processes and plots in your life you, so to speak, perform in order to please other people. On an event level, this is a time when you can feel that you are falling into some repeated situations, repeated conversations, meetings, repeated surroundings arise. More often than usual, there can be a sensation of déjà vu. Also, in questions of work, here there can be a return to some work project or correction of mistakes, shortcomings in those projects that, it seemed, you had already completed. This is also a time when you will want to sort out the so-called long box. That is, to complete some processes that you have been thinking about for a long time, to sort out, to put things in order to free up space in your life for the arrival of something new. On November 12, retrograde Mercury will be in conjunction with the planet Mars in your sign. This is a most important aspect for you. Precisely on this day, in essence, you make a decision about how you will act further. And this decision can concern both the sphere of personal life and questions connected with work, with friendly relationships, and in questions that are connected with your plans for the future. The decision that you make on this day, you will not proceed immediately to its realization. You will make it as if for the future, and you will be able to proceed to the realization of this conceived process approximately in the middle of January 2026. And on this same day, November 12, the planet Jupiter, the most generous planet of the solar system and the ruler of your sign concurrently. The planet Jupiter turns into retrograde motion, which will last right up until March 11, 2026. This is a very favorable turn of Jupiter for you. In essence, it gives an opportunity to additionally obtain luck or to use those proposals that you missed or did not bring to a result throughout the past 8 months. That is, if in the past 8 months you received some proposals in the sphere of personal life, proposals regarding work, or you were invited to go somewhere, but you did not use these opportunities, then now you can decide that it is necessary after all to try this. That is, you can return to those proposals, to those chances that were before you throughout the past 8 months. In more detail about the essence of this retrograde motion of Jupiter and its influence on each of the zodiac signs. About this, I will make a separate video. On November 19, the planet Mercury will be in a tense aspect in opposition in relation to the planet Uranus, which will be affecting your 6th and 12th astro field. This is the second tense aspect of this month. On this day, there can be disruptions in plans and in agreements with other people. You may have a feeling that people have literally conspired in order to violate your plans with their actions or decisions. For this day, it is better not to plan the resolution of any important questions such that can be connected not only with your personal matters, but also with the matters of close people for you or with your, for example, colleagues. On this day, there can be emergency situations. There can be a feeling of haste, that one needs to hurry somewhere, something needs to be done, but not everything turns out as was planned. Here, an unplanned trip can take place when you are asked to go somewhere, to help someone, to give someone a ride somewhere, or to organize something for someone. At the same time, on this day you will have a strong internal desire to free yourself from the endless stream of chores. On November 20, a new moon occurs in the sign of Scorpio in your 12th house of the horoscope. The new moon is the birth of new energy, and the 12th house is the house of completion of the old cycle and the time of preparation for a new stage. Therefore, now you will want again to put things in order in your affairs, to part with something, to let something go, to do a general cleaning, both on the physical plane and in your thoughts and emotions. This is a time when there can be changes in matters connected with the work of your partner in your personal life. Also, this is a period when you can ponder new plans for the future. But for now, this is all on the level of feelings, emotions, mood, and a little later this will pour out into concrete practical plans. That is, now for you is a time when you need to sum up results, draw conclusions, and outline plans for the future. On November 21, the planet Mercury will be in conjunction with the black moon in your 12th house of the horoscope. Mercury is thoughts, words, logic, memory, and the black moon is an energy that creates distortion, which gives such a karmic veil. Therefore, throughout this day one should not trust one's thoughts, one's premonitions, one's worries, fears. This is a time that can provoke in us some suspicions, doubts, worries, which in reality have no place in our life, which in reality have no real factual basis. This day can bring diametrically opposite feelings. For some, this can play out as a sensation of loneliness, that yes, you are surrounded by people, and around you there are both close people and colleagues, but at the same time you have a feeling that no one actually understands you or does not want to understand you. The second extreme of this aspect is that you may have a sensation that, on the contrary, all the surrounding people want to find out something about you, that they do not want to simply leave you in peace. This day can bring strange thoughts, strange impressions, and conversations. On November 24, in the starry sky, a very important astrological aspect is served. On this day, the planet Mars, the source of strength, energy, and actions, will be in tense aspects in relation to the karmic lunar nodes, which will be affecting your 1st, 4th, and 10th astro field. This is a day when you may have a feeling of a fork in the road, since Mars on this day finds itself between the past and the future. Such an aspect of Mars in relation to the karmic nodes, it happens approximately once a year. But precisely such an aspect, affecting the same zodiac signs, the same spheres of your life. The last time such an aspect was on January 2, 2007. That is, this is a rather rare aspect, which influences precisely as now. And you may have a sensation of a fork in the road, a sensation of the necessity to make some decision, in essence, to choose for yourself a strategy for the future, a strategy of actions or a strategy of waiting. You may encounter a situation when it is necessary to choose in which sphere of life to invest more of your efforts, in work, career, or in family and household matters. It is not necessarily a choice precisely between work and home, between career and family. But it is a choice between some diametrically opposite processes. And in reality, the essence is that one does not need to choose between extremes. One needs, with periodicity, to invest the maximum of one's forces both in one process and in the other. One needs to divide one's time and one's energy. In more detail about the essence of this aspect, about this I will tell in a separate video. On November 25, a conjunction of the planet Mercury with the planet Venus occurs in your 12th house of the horoscope. This aspect gives very pleasant sensations and events. On one hand, here one wants quiet, cozy joys. One will want to be near close people. One will want some quiet and calm pleasures. Here there can be pleasant conversations, meetings, calls, pleasant information that you will receive. Also, this aspect can play out in a financial sense, as a very advantageous purchase or receiving that sum of money which you, possibly, did not even count on. This can be some bonus or premium. On November 28, the planet Venus will be in conjunction with the black moon in your 12th house of the horoscope. This is a treacherous aspect that pushes us onto the path of satiation with anything. This aspect, it figuratively speaking, provokes in us such an insatiable hunger. And also on this day, attentiveness is needed in relation to one's things, since there is a risk of forgetting something, leaving it somewhere, or losing it. And also on this day, one needs especially thoroughly to protect both one's own and others' secrets. On November 30, the planet Venus transitions into your zodiac sign, and for you begins a very pleasant in many respects period. Since Venus, it symbolizes our satisfaction with life. And when it is located in our own sign, then this brings us more than usual pleasant moments, a sensation of satisfaction with oneself and life. Brings more pleasant events, meetings, and also brings improvements in financial questions. But about this in more detail, we will talk with you in the horoscope for December. That is how, from the point of view of astrology, November 2025 will be. I wish you a pleasant, successful month, dear Sagittarius.